me still? Yes. And if you are uncompromising to the eternal present moment, the generous present moment, and you keep coming back to the present moment, coming back to the present moment, and you understand where you place your attention is where you place your energy, and you're no longer thinking about the people you have to see and the places you have to go and your cell phone and your computer and your emails and the news, and you keep returning your attention back to the present moment, would you agree then you're disinvesting your energy out of the known future and you're making room for the unknown in your life? Yes or no? So then, in meditation then, if you are literally going to make some type of change and affect your outer world, you're going to have to put most of your attention on your inner world, and you're going to have to become greater than the conditions in your environment and disconnect from your environment. You're going to have to sit your body down and overcome your body, and you're going to have to transcend time. Are you with me still? So then when you're living by the hormones of stress and you're in a threatening situation and the survival gene is turned on, then you're going to spend the most of your time thinking about your environment. Yes or no? And what is your environment made of? People, pets, things, objects, places, time. Yes or no? And when you're living by the hormones of stress and that survival gene is conditioned and turned on, would you agree that you better pay attention to your body if you're being chased by Mr. Big? Yes or no? So most people start to put all of their attention on their body, and they start believing that they're their body. Are you with me still? And if you're living by the hormones of stress and you're trying to predict the future based on the past, then you would have to agree with me then, when you're in the present moment, you can't be in stress. Because there is no future and there is no past. There's only the present moment. Yes or no? So then meditation is about that. And what we've measured over and over again when we've done this, as I now know, without a doubt, that you are at your absolute best when you get beyond yourself, period. And I can tell you right now, you can't tell me you're too old. You can't tell me you're too out of shape. You can't tell me about your past. You can't tell me about your disease. I have seen transformation and shifts in people's bodies independent of how old they are, how out of shape, how in shape, their wealth, their social status. I've seen it happen on all cultures, all ages, all kinds of people. Are you with me still? So then, if you start taking your attention off your body, then would you agree that you would become nobody? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes. And if you took your attention off all the people in your life that you have to take care of and make sure everything's in place, and all those people have created your identity, that the moment you take your attention off all those people in your life, you become no one. Yes or no? Yes. Come on. Yes. And if you're not thinking about the things you own and all the objects, your computer, your cell phone, then all of a sudden you're in nothing. Yes or no? Yes. And if you take your attention off the place you have to go or the place you're sitting and you get so lost in your inner world that there's no longer an outer world, then you're in nowhere. Yes or no? Yes. And if you are not thinking about the predictable future or the familiar past and you are in the generous present moment, then you are in no time. Are you with me still? And that means then you're no longer your face. You're no longer your pain. You're no longer your job. You're no longer your gender. You're no longer your diet. You're no longer your profession. You're no longer a mother. You're no longer a father. You're no longer a kid. You're no longer your culture, your skin color. You're no longer your name. You are nobody. No one, no thing, nowhere, and no time. And in that moment, you are walking into the door to the quantum field. You are passing through the eye of the needle. Are you with me still? And now here's what happens when this occurs. And we've measured this enough times. When you're thinking about all those people and things and problems and conditions in your life and your brain is aroused because of the hormones of stress and you're in survival and you're activating all those circuits in your brain is firing very incoherently, and your heart is out of rhythm, and you're drawing from this field and turning it into chemistry, and you're more matter and less energy, that there comes a moment where all of a sudden the person has to settle down and there's chaos going on within them. They're disconnecting from their environment, and it's the unknown. And they have to work in trusting in the unknown more than the known. And as they do this properly, and they get beyond themselves, and they're no longer thinking about those people, they're no longer thinking about their pain or their body, they're no longer putting their attention on objects or things or places and time. If they're no longer activating these circuits in the brain because they're no longer thinking about them, guess what happens? Their brain waves begin to change from beta brain waves, high beta aroused state, into alpha. And in alpha, all of a sudden, the inner world starts becoming more real than the outer world. The brain starts to imagine. And when you're out of the way, and you're no longer thinking and feeling in the same way, and you're changing your brain waves, as you change your brain waves, you're falling right into the autonomic nervous system. And as your brain waves slow down, all of a sudden, you're connecting to that autonomic nervous system that wants to just do one thing: create order and balance in your body. And it says, she's gone. She's out. And it steps in right into the neocortex. And when it steps right into the executive brain, all of a sudden it starts taking those different compartments of the brain that were no longer working together and starts to synchronize them. And all of a sudden you see the front of the brain talking to the back of the brain. We've seen this so many times. You see the right side of the brain talking to the left side of the brain. And all of a sudden you see the brain starting to move into a more holistic state. And what syncs in the brain links in the brain. And all of a sudden the person starts to feel connected to something greater. Are you with me still? And the moment that that happens, we can predict it now. The neuroscientists that come and study our work, we say, she's going to pop. What do you mean? Just watch. She's going to pop. And all of a sudden, the brain starts working together. And as they're no longer thinking and they're no longer putting their attention on objects and matter and people and things, and they're all of a sudden putting their attention within them, and that brain starts functioning in a holistic way, it starts to synchronize, and those brain waves become highly coherent. And all of a sudden, when that happens, that energy moves right into the heart. And at that time, we've measured this, all of a sudden, that person starts to feel whole. When that brain, that right hemisphere and that left hemisphere come together and it starts to synchronize, the union of polarities, the union of duality, the union of separation or opposites is called wholeness, it's called love. And the moment those two hemispheres come together, that energy breaks right into the heart, and the person's heart goes into super coherence. And the field around their body can be up to 8 feet wide, 9 meters wide. Now they're more energy than matter, more wave than particle, and they feel connected to something greater, and they would never try to control an outcome. They would never try to force an outcome. They would never try to predict an outcome, because they understand that all they have to do is put their attention on possibility, and their body's going to follow their mind to the unknown. And it's so amazing when this happens. You can see the person's heart go into coherence, you can see their brain go into coherence, and you can walk around while they're in the meditation, you can look at them like this, and there are tears of joy rolling down their face. They are being baptized by the divine. They are connected to the unified field. And the unified field is that quantum field that governs all the laws of nature. And when that occurs, they feel so whole, and so in love with life, and so in love with themselves, it's impossible to want. How can you want when you feel whole? You feel like you have everything. And that's the moment the magic happens over and over again. And there is a biological, neurological, genetic upgrade in that person when they connect to the unified field. And when you connect to the unified field, you will go from somebody to nobody, to everybody. From someone to no one to everyone. From something to nothing to everything. From somewhere to nowhere to everywhere. And from sometime to no time to every time. Isn't that the quantum field? And when that occurs, you will feel so connected and so whole. When you're in that state, you no longer experience separation. You no longer are saying, I need that. You're saying, I already have it. I don't really need anything. And when you're in that state, guess what happens? You go from selfish, driven by the hormones of stress, to selfless. And all of a sudden, that heart of yours begins to open, and the innate capacity in you to give, to take care of, to nurture, to serve is who we really are. And all of a sudden, you create a community of people that are in love with each other, and they understand that the way that we survive is in cooperation, no longer in separation. Are you with me still? So imagine this. Imagine. I always say that the thought that you think is the electrical charge in the quantum field. And how you feel is the magnetic charge in the quantum field. And how you think and how you feel is broadcasting information into the field. Are you with me still?